Previously.
I have a few more videos planned and coming soon.
There's nothing wrong with a life of peace and prosperity. I suggest you think about what it is that you want from your life and why. What that means is up to you.
I always end up in a creative art block or creative block the same way that I don't use the first page of a sketchbook, the same way I skip the first page of a journal, the same way I don't use my pens, because I'm afraid of making a permanent mark. I think I have creative anxiety, if that is a thing. I like to approach my art like I'm a mad scientist or like a mad genius. Letting like the creative process control me and control how I create things. I'll be up at 3 a.m. and that's when it hits me and I'm like, you know what, that's fine. That's when the gods have blessed me with some creativity. I will only create at that time, because I have this fear that if I decide to change my hours or my routine, then creativity won't flow. If I can create at 3 a.m. I should be able to create at 3 p.m. It's not like I'm possessed at 3 a.m. and suddenly I can create at that time. I tend to view ideas as if I don't do it now, the time has passed for me to do it. I have to feel this like immense like passion and fire to create a project. And if I don't feel that, then I don't want to make it. I tend to view myself as like a victim in my head. I let life get in the way, a million excuses of why I couldn't do it. Like for example, I had like a wrist surgery. I took such a long break, got the surgery, and then now when I try to get back into art, it's not as good as it used to be. I'm afraid that I've lost it. In the best of scenarios, I will at least attempt a project. I will at least start something. Case in point, I started this channel, I made one video and I stopped. Case in point number 2, I started an animation channel years ago. For a first video, it got a decent amount of comments and a decent amount of views. But because it did so well for like a first video, that freaked me out so much so that I quit. I'm afraid of success. As much as I'm afraid of failure, I'm also afraid of success. I tend to think too far into the future to the point where it's crippling. It's things I should be thinking about when I have like 100,000 subscribers or something, but I'm thinking about them now. The final thing that I think is the cause of my art block is that I have an audience in my head. I've noticed that I live my life like I'm on a show, and this might be due to social media, I don't know. That makes me feel so anxious that I feel like I can't make mediocre things. I wholeheartedly believe that you need to make mediocre bad things and get that out the way so that you can make good things. You can't just kind of dip back and forth, and when you're trying new things, you're always going to be bad at it and then you will eventually get good. But my brain does not accept that because of all the voices in my head that are telling me like, we're expecting greatness. The voices in my head then connect to why I'm afraid of using the first pages of my sketchbooks and things like that. When I'm making something, I'm making it for this audience. So when I'm looking at the first page, if that does not represent my best work, it feels like I've let so many voices down. I think after this, I'm gonna have to just get therapy. Now that I've told you like a million things of why I have art block and creative blocks, let's discuss the things that I'm working on to help change that. I have 2 quotes that I try to think of every day whenever I get stuck in any of the issues that I mentioned. Hello and welcome to Insane Quote. Today's first quote of the day that will totally 100% change your life, guaranteed, is, can I get a drum roll please? Time will pass regardless of whether you follow your dreams or not. Thank you folks, thank you, I will be here all week. So time will pass regardless of whether you pursue your dreams or not. That sounds daunting, but think of it as 1, pursue your dreams right now. If you don't, live your life mindfully. I've spent like the past like 3 years kind of just living to the weekend, not appreciating the fact that time is actually still passing. And these days that I'm looking forward to passing are just days of my life that I will never get back. That changed my life. I want to learn all these difficult languages. I was putting it off because of how much time it would take alongside starting a webtoon, because I'm like, it's gonna take forever to create and finish a webtoon. These are things that I wanted to do like 3 years ago, but the time passed regardless of whether I did them or not. If I started back then, I would have been 3 years along the journey, but now 3 years have passed and I haven't done any of them. What was number 2? Let me just say the second quote, and I promise I will find you all for this class. Perfect is the enemy of good. As like a creative, we are the most obnoxiously perfectionist creatures on earth. That a lot of the times will be the enemy of your progress. The human experience is like learning new things, taking in information, and when you become like an adult, you have to find different avenues to still learn things, because no one's forcing you to like learn a new skill or a new hobby or a new thing. You need to look at something and detach your ego from it. Detach yourself from your work. It doesn't determine your self-worth. This has just been me analyzing why I struggle to do everything. I tend to intellectualize my flaws. I do that so perfectly that I never need to improve anything because I've acknowledged it. Today is as good as any day to start anything. For some reason, my brain just works in a very odd way, and I have to use all these like elaborate tricks to trick myself. You know what it is? I think my biggest problem is just discipline. I cannot hold myself accountable for anything. What happens if I miss my deadline, my imaginary deadline?
For the crimes of procrastination, neglecting goals, lying to yourself, wasting potential of higher self, deviating from your path, we find you guilty.
Your Honor, I was tired, my tummy ached, and my wrist hurt, and my back hurt. Just didn't have energy to do anything, and she's not gonna punish me. I know she's not gonna hold me accountable. She doesn't care. When I say you, I'm talking to myself. Like, this is for me. I'm trying to send this back to my past self so that she can actually get her shit together. You need to have that epiphany or that moment of realization that you are the person that decides whether things will happen for you or not. I'm making like an active choice to not live my life vicariously through YouTube, through TikTok, and actually live my life and make my own memories. Sometimes it just feels like your personality gets washed away with the amount of social media content that you consume. And when I'm in that state, I feel like I have no desire to create. I have no desire to learn or change or do anything. If for whatever miraculous reason there's someone that's watching this, thank you. Live life, be you. I don't know how to end this.
Where I get it on the beat, let me hit the floor. I be pin dropping like it's 2008. I've been out in Watsonville chilling, get the homies told them road tripping straight to LA. Whoa, what you know about a function like this? If you don't know consent, then you ain't invited. We gon' have a good time on some fun shit. Better watch how we moving to the sunlight hits like